Welcome back to the series where I talk about my video game backlog and how much progress I've made on it. This was a busy week for sure, with a whole bunch of games and progress made, some stuff expected, and some stuff being entirely new. To start off, I still have not finished that last achievement and Abiotic Factor. I did make some progress on it, but ultimately wasn't able to sit down and finish it out. It is the top of my gaming priority list though, because I really do want to finish that game and finally have it cleared off of the list. I did not end up playing Stray this week like I wanted to. Once again, it was simply just a matter of I didn't have the time to really dive into it the way I wanted to, so it kept getting passed up for other things that were easier to pick up in the moment. Frankly, I think I may put this a little further down the backlog for the time being. The way it is now, the game just keeps getting ignored in favor of other things I'm more interested in or that are easier to pick up because I know what I'm doing with them. And I don't want this backlog project to become more stressful than it is fun. I'm sure when I get to a week with very little going on, it'll be a lot easier for me to pick up rather than trying to find a time to slot it in with all the other games I am also concurrently playing. And on the note of other games I am playing, I made some sizable progress this week in Dredge over the 3 hours that I played. The achievements I got this week were Swift Reaper, Trapped by These Walls, Tangled in This Web, The Moment, and Researcher Rods. I finished out the Devil's Spine area, finding the pocket watch for my troubles there. I have been spoiled on how the game ends, so before I finish out the main story of the game, I want to collect as many of the other achievements as I can. Currently, I am avidly working on the various pursuits I missed while trying to pick up research parts and dredging the materials to upgrade my boat further. Also, I'm unsure of how to actually interact with the two different DLCs and their content when actually in the game, so I'm going to do a little bit of research into that this week so I can start working on that extra content and those achievements as well. Speaking of extra content, I did end up completing the last Remnant DLC this week, Subject 2923. Along with completing this DLC, I picked up the following achievements: Girl in the Snow, Mod Enthusiast, Scrap Harvester, Other Voices, and Nemesis. I spent just over 10 hours on Remnant this week, but with the main story and all the DLCs finished, I can now focus on getting achievements that I either missed, like in the case of some of the bosses that didn't spawn in my playthrough, or things that simply take playing the game more to work towards. Additionally, I did try out survival mode and almost got an achievement there for beating 5 bosses in a row, but sadly my connection issues reared their annoying head again and kicked the person I was playing with right at that finish line. They were a good sport about it though, and said they want to continue to help me out working towards those additional achievements, so I'm excited to see how that progresses. Which, if you're interested in Remnant or Remnant 2, I would highly recommend checking out their YouTube channel, which I will link to in the description of this video and also have it here on screen. In case you're just listening and not watching, their name is Rye Harpy, and they make some phenomenal content for the Remnant games. Guides on how to beat bosses, how the different classes and weapons function at the higher difficulties, as well as tier lists for many of the equipment types, just to name a few. I know they have some more awesome videos planned, so you should absolutely go check out their stuff, maybe even drop a subscribe while you're there. Friend intermission aside, and back to what I got up to this week, I did end up playing more Deltarune, just over 3 hours of it, and I am almost near the end of Chapter 1. I want to avoid mentioning any outright spoilers for games, but with certain games, like Deltarune, it's going to be a little hard to talk about them without bringing up something specific to give reference where I've reached progression-wise. And certainly other games I will eventually be playing down the line, I straight up wouldn't be able to talk about them if I didn't mention spoilers for them. So, from this video forward, I'm going to be putting a list of games in the description of my videos, and eventually I'll put chapters on the videos as well, so you can skip over a game in case you don't want to see any spoilers for it. With that note in mind, boy howdy do I love some yummy, tasty moss while I'm inside a prison cell. The scene with Susie and Lancer did make me cry because I knew it was coming, and I am sure that as I continue with it, the game will have emotional moments that will leave me a wreck. I've played Chapter 1 before, right when it came out, but besides some very small details, I don't know anything about the remainder of the story. I never even finished Chapter 1 before when playing because I got stuck on the secret boss, got frustrated, set the game aside saying I'd give it a little bit of time, and then come back to it later, and sure enough, multiple years later passed before I touched it again. But hey, here I am trying to finish it now. And because of the friend I'm playing with, I don't plan on dropping this anytime soon. Next up from last week's docket, I made some further progress in Borderlands 2, getting the Dragon Slayer and Friendship Rules achievements over the short 1.5 hours I spent playing. Story-wise, I made it inside Sanctuary before immediately stopping for the night, but once again, this game is something that I'm having a ton of fun playing, so I'm sure I will be playing it plenty more. Progress here was small, but still it was made. For the new entries to the Backlog series, the following 3 games are some other titles that I played this week. Phasmophobia, a game which I loathe, because although horror is hands down my favorite genre, I am a terrible scaredy cat. Cannot handle the dark or freaky noises in the dark. Hate being alone in the dark, especially when there are freaky noises and a ghoulish beastie out to get me, and all around just detest feeling like I am out of place while in the dark with freaky noises being hunted by a ghoulish beastie. However, I got one singular achievement in this game after they added achievements to it, and now it will bother me until the end of time if I do not get more and finish this game out, at least to the best of my ability. I also have some friends who have offered to be emotional support for me while I begrudgingly embark on this coward's quest, and that has certainly made the process of playing a lot less intimidating than if I were just playing entirely on my own. Over the sweat and anxiety inducing hour and a half I played this week, I was able to get the following achievements: Mare Discovered, Work Experience, Chump Change, Phantom Discovered, and Wraith Discovered. While generally unpleased about playing this, simply from the principle of the matter, I was happy with the progress I made this week on the game, and will continue to go and explore people's haunted as balls homes. Really, the only true scare I got was a demon utterly decimating me and Nell's diner because I got scared, couldn't open the door to get outside, and just hid in a corner until it ripped me to shreds. What can you do? On a significantly more relaxing note, I picked up the Spell Brigade once again this week. I got it for a friend during the Steam Spring sale, and they were able and willing to try it out with me, so we got together to sling some spells at unsuspecting bugs trying to raise their gods. I played for just over 2.5 hours with them, getting the following achievements: the Pyrestorm Pit, Astral Riftlands Appreciator, and Supernova. On one of her runs, I also had something very funny happen. I had died and was just waiting for the revive to respond, and while I was waiting, my character's ghost just wasn't there, like, at all. The screen would move around and whatnot, but I couldn't pick up any XP orbs. The camera was also panned in on the enemies way closer than how it would normally appear. At the time, I thought it was really funny, but I didn't really put too much stock into it outside of, hey, this is a weird bug. And then, as the round continued, and I continued to wait, I noticed the camera had been zooming in on the enemies. Very slowly, but I was now distinctly closer to smelling the texture of those beautiful ground flowers and bug-like beasts. And then, Suddenly, the camera panned through the ground, and I was seeing underneath of the map. My beautiful ghastly form was there, floating in the void. It was really funny and got a good laugh out of me. The 1.0 update for the Spell Brigade comes out at the end of this month, and they've teased some very interesting concepts and reworks with it. So, if you wanted to grab the game before the price increases, I would highly recommend doing so soon. I genuinely think it is one of the better survivor like styled games out there, and it is co op, so you can bring your friends into the terrible wizard war with you. Lastly, I started Warhammer 40,000 Darktide this week. I played for nearly 3.5 hours, getting the following achievements: Don't Let Me Down, Criminal, Time to Die, and Circle of Trust 1. I don't know a single thing about Warhammer, but I can confidently say that this game was an absolute blast, and I will no doubt be playing more of it over time. While playing, me and one of my two friends played a interesting game where we tried to blow up a barrel as the other ran past it, which did end up causing many of the random people we would match with to leave, even though it was not affecting them at all. To those people affected, I am sorry, but we were just being some silly little guys. I also, once again, had a very fun game breaking moment. One of the big mutant guys picked me up and slammed me against the wall, which I then clipped through and was locked into a little baby jail room that I had no way of getting out of. This screenshot was all I got proof of it, but I was thoroughly confused before the silliness of the situation kicked in for me. Without any kind of get unstuck button, I just had to disconnect and wait for my friends to finish the mission for me to rejoin them. But honestly, it was so hilariously absurd that I did not mind one bit. This game also helped me realize that the heat sink on my computer may be a little bit messed up and not working the way it should be, as my computer got so hot that it burned me if I touched it. Obviously, computers should not do that. So, I'm going to be looking into potentially grabbing some parts to upgrade my hardware, which should hopefully help me with the random game crashes and issues I've been having recently. In this video, I was also going to talk about one of the main motivating factors for me to start this series, but at the time of writing this all out, the script for this one is already significantly longer than my other videos by a long shot, so I think I'll save that topic for next week's video. Additionally, here is what my stats were at the end of last week, and here is what my stats were at the end of this week. For this upcoming week, I'm going to try my best to finally finish this last achievement in Abiotic Factor and make more progress in Dredge with the side missions and assorted achievements. My next story game I've chosen is BioShock, so I may start that this upcoming week as well. Outside of these three games, I'm sure I may touch on some other titles that I've been doing with others, like Borderlands 2, the Spell Brigade, and Deltarune if possible. I've also had some other friends express interest in picking up a different set of titles, so those may get started this week if the time permits it. I'm also starting a big project this week, which I've been planning for months, and I'm so excited to finally see it come to fruition. If you've made it all the way through this video, thank you for sticking through and watching. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.